I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd just like to let everyone know that the meeting's being recorded by Zoom, and Dalton Community Television is broadcasting the meetings. And Mr. Strout, can you please lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call.
Here.
Mark Stroud.
Here.
Robert Collins.
Here.
Our Vice Chair Dan Castro.
Here.
Our Town Manager John Hutchison.
Here.
Excused for their Chair Robert Mitchell.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the time when the public may address the board on any item listed on the meeting agenda or on any issue or matter of the town. If you intend on addressing the board at this time, we ask that you do the following. Please identify yourself by name, address, or the company or institution you represent. The public address of the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Each individual will be given 3 minutes. Please try to make your comments concise. Try not to repeat statements made by others. Please address your comments to the board chair. The discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time, and the chair or their designee may answer questions in procedural matters. If anyone wishes to be recognized by the board, please make that request at this time. We're meeting in person and making this meeting available via Zoom for the convenience of the public. Since we are meeting in person, we will not be responsible for any technical difficulties. So if you'd like to be sure of participating, please attend in person. All right, we have a hand up here.
William Drosine, 878 South Street, Dalton. Good evening, Mr. Chair and Select Board. I would like to take this moment to comment about Agenda Item 7. The selection of the committee to search for the new town manager. This is a particularly important task because the town manager is the person with the greatest impact on our community. Since the list of potential search committee members did not occur during a public meeting of the Select Board, I am very concerned that the selection of the members for the town manager search committee has not occurred in an open or transparent manner. The work of the search committee will impact every single voter and taxpayer in this town. The people of Dalton deserve and need to be able to trust this committee. To achieve this, we need to have a publicly posted solicitation for committee members that should remain up for 2 weeks to allow people to respond. The final list of all town residents who volunteered should then be posted on the town website and read aloud. The entire select board in a public forum will then consider a vote on each name until the number of volunteers has been reduced to the needed final 5 members. This may take some time, but filling such a critical position like town manager should not be taken lightly nor done quickly. I hope my comments here encourage you to take the time to do a more open and transparent selection of this committee. We all need to believe in the ability of the committee to provide good quality choices for the select board when they are selecting the new town manager and the final candidates. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Drosine.
We have a comment from Zoom. David, if you'll unmute. Oh, sorry, we can't hear you.
The search for there's, in addition to this, excuse me?
Can you start over?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'd just like to echo the comments of Mr. Zine. I agree with his concerns. I think there should be a wider net cast for recruitment for that committee and for a more comprehensive view of the town's issues and what needs to be addressed over the next period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right here, Mr. Rose.
Henry Rose, North Mountain Road. Can you sign this? I wish to comment on item 7 when it arrives, and I echo what Mr. Josine said. I agree with what he said, and I may wish to comment on item 10, Berkshire Concrete.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hi, Cheryl Rose, 89 North Mountain Road. I also just want to echo that, say I might want to comment on 7 in Berkshire Concrete. Yeah, I was totally unaware that the selection committee was being chosen, that there were opportunities for people to step up. I know some people who would be interested. It's just something I felt like was not an open process. And I think our town has a reputation of not opening things up. So I think it's especially important that we do, and that this decision, you know, be offered up to more people to participate.
Thank you. And, Ray.
Just quickly, Ron Griffin, 33 Florida Street, Dalton. I may like to comment on the Berkshire Concrete line item, but I'll hold my comments based on how things are. Okay?
Okay, thank you. We had someone right behind you there.
Hi, my name is Laurie Martinelli, 488 East Housatonic Street. I also want to speak to item number 7. I first became aware that the Select Board was actively forming a search committee to assist in hiring a new town manager when I saw the agenda for tonight's meeting. I also urge the Select Board to pause and open the process up to select this 5-member screening committee. The town manager is a vital position for Dalton's future. There are many Dalton residents with relevant and important experience, and I assume there are several of them who would be willing to serve on the screening committee and would provide significant value added. I count myself as one of these people. I recently retired and moved back to my hometown of Dalton after living and working in Boston for 35 years. As the executive director of 2 nonprofits for a period of 23 years, I have extensive experience in the hiring process, reviewing and culling resumes, conducting interviews, and recommending candidates that best fit the job description. I might add, I have a very good success record, and I hired many people who continue to give to the organization, take on leadership positions, and stayed with the organization for many years. I also am a member of the Dalton Green Committee since March of last year, so I have a general understanding of how the town government works and the many responsibilities of the town manager. If given the opportunity, I would be an objective and hard-working member of the screening committee. I love Dalton and am eager to give back. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Jane Gingras, 138 Sunnyside Drive. Item number 6, the school committee issue or issues or anyways, that I would just like to ask a question as that they present
Sure.
this. But it does say here at the discretion of the select board, so I'm hoping you're.
That's absolutely fine, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And in the back, we'll leave to you in a second, in the back there.
Hi, Craig Wilbur, 24 Mountain View Terrace. I'd like to hold my comments on item 11.
Okay. All right, thank you. There.
Good evening, thank you. I'd like to comment on item 11 also. I'd also like to make a plug of sorts. I know you have a full agenda tonight, but I was hoping that Bud and I could speak to the composting, community composting. It appears it's ready to go July 1st. I'd like to make a public statement that this will be explored and discussed further at the Climate Action Plan meeting here at the Senior Center April 12th. So hopefully that'll go forward with your acceptance. Thank you.
I believe the composting item is not on this agenda now, but it will be on a future agenda. Is that maybe next week or the week after at the latest?
Is there a meeting, that was my question, is there a meeting, that was a question I had. Is it next week or are we gonna wait till?
Well, 2 weeks is the next regular one, and we may have a special one next week to do additional budgets, but
Okay.
that's gonna come up and we'll decide that separately. But thank you for your comments. And how many more? Okay, we've got one, and then we'll go right along the line here.
Good evening, Dave Q, 140 River Drive. I'd like to speak on item number 10, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Tom, 154 Central Ave, on item number 7. I think everyone here and anyone listening can agree that the biggest error ever is to not learn from our own mistakes. I think we can all also agree that the last town manager search that ended on February 1st, 2021 did not generate the success we had all hoped for. I don't believe our town can afford to fall short like this again. We would be wise to review our selection process and consider what changes might strengthen our procedure and thereby our chances of a more optimal final selection. Maybe the change is using an executive search firm, or possibly more completely defining the desired characteristics of the candidates, or maybe attending meetings in the candidates' hometowns. Whatever the answer or answers, I strongly urge the Select Board to take the time to perform this critical analysis and consider possible changes before embarking on the selection process again. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Richard Holden, 164 Greenwich Drive. On item 7, can you just confirm it is on the agenda tonight, because there's a number of amendments to the agenda, so it is. Okay.
It is there.
So I would sort of echo what's been said earlier about, rethinking and looking at this in a bit more detail. Maybe I can be recognised on 7 if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and back.
Pete Person, 30 Florence Street, Dalton. I may want to comment on item number 10 regarding Berkshire Concrete.
Okay, very well. When we get to the agenda item that is of interest, what we'll do, will be presented. There may be questions from the select board, conversation, and then we'll open it up to the folks who would express interest in commenting on the particular agenda item. Okay, well, thank you all very much. Without further ado, we will go into agenda item number 6.
Yeah.
Oh, we have one. Okay, sorry.
Apparently there was an oil spill in my brook. I would like to comment about number 7 as well, and I'm still trying to figure out how things work here, so I don't know if you want to hear my comment now or later, because I heard some people coming back, but I was just curious how you go about selecting that committee, because I noticed that they're on the schedule to be appointed, but I didn't hear any requests for volunteers, or I don't know, where is there a board, like does that get published on the website, or how does that happen
So-
in this town?
What I'd like to do is when we get to that agenda item, address that as best I can, rather than getting into it now. So I think we'll just wait till we get to that item. Is that fair? Okay. So agenda item number 6 is a joint meeting with members of the Central Berkshire Regional School District School Committee and the Regional Agreement Amendment Committee and Dalton Select Board to review past progress, update on current status, intended and future timeline for the regional school agreement. Now, we don't really have a quorum for the boards and the committees, but they're welcome to come up and address this item to the select board here and maybe give us an update. Welcome David Stewart to do that.
Thank you. I am, like you said, there's no quorum. Is just myself from school committee. My name is David Stewart. I am currently the Central Berkshire Regional School District, the vice chair of the school committee. I am the chair of the Regional Agreement Ad Hoc Committee, a member of the Policy Subcommittee. I also serve as a town moderator for Hinsdale, where I live with 2 kids in the district there. Dan Esco is also a member of the Regional Agreement Ad Hoc Committee. Thank you for putting your time into that. So the regional agreement it was originally approved way back in 1957 between Beckett, Dalton, Hinsdale, and Windsor. Cummington, Washington, and Peru were added in 1969 to become CVRSD. There have been several updates throughout, kind of coming up to 1997, which is where we have our current regional agreement. There was some work done 2014, 15, again in 2018. May have been some work done a little earlier there. So the Regional Agreement Ad Hoc committee has been working on updating this document, which first came up in school committee around July of 2020. And in January of 21, a small group of school committee members got together to develop a process and to bring in other town members. And in October of 21, we had representation from all 7 towns, a member or 2 members from each town formed the committee. And we had Bonnie Connor of Hinsdale and Bonnie DiTomaso from Peru as our first co-chairs. Todd Emerson of Cummington took over as chair somewhere along the way. And the ad hoc committee had worked on this for a while by ourselves. Ended up being a lot of wordsmithing. We put in a lot of time. I don't think we got very far, so we hired consultants from the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. And through working with them, we came up with some changes to the 1997 regional agreement. Some of that was just general language cleanup, updates to be current with Mass General Law. A budget roundtable was established prior to the public hearing for the budget, so that would happen in about February. There was some apportionment or assessment process cleanup, some language around that. The issue on incurring debt, the current draft of the amended regional agreement listed the town-by-town method as a default for incurring debt. There's 2 methods that are provided as an option in state law. The withdrawal process was kind of organized, and a detailed process for how a town would calculate the amounts owed to the district that was added. And then there was also a future 5-year review period to see if a committee needed to come together to make more changes to this document. The committee had last met in July of 23, and it came for a vote at town meeting in the spring of 24. Dalton, thank you for approving the amendment there. However, Cummington, Hinsdale, and Peru had voted it down. So in order for the amendment to become effective in the district, we need 6 of 7 towns. It's 3/4 of the district. We currently have 4 from the votes last year. Their primary concerns were over the inclusion of the popular vote method, and this gets into some of the granular detail in state law, but there's 2 methods for incurring debt the school committee could choose. There's a town-by-town vote that's always been done in the district, or the popular vote that was used for the high school. And both of those have to be provided for. So with that spring vote, we were kind of left hanging, not sure which way to go. And in January of 25, we reconvened the ad hoc committee, and I was put in as chair to try and come up with a way to get this done. We met in January and February. We reviewed where we were, and we had discussed some of the issues and proposed and sent a policy, a draft policy to the school committee policy subcommittee regarding that popular vote method. School committee will take that up tomorrow, actually. And so part of what I'm doing is I'm going around to all the towns here. I've been to Beckett and Cummington. I was hoping more school committee members would join me in this endeavor here, but I'm here, Hinsdale on Wednesday, and then the rest of the Mondays are Peru, Washington, and Windsor. So what I want to do is I want to meet with the select boards. I want to hear what the issues are, if there's any outstanding issues, concerns with the document, and try and find a path forward. We'll reconvene the ad hoc committee afterwards to discuss some of these, if there's any feedback from the towns, and find a way to get this done in the other 3 towns. You know, we've been working on this 4.5 years. We've discussed a lot of things, and a lot of things got agreed upon, and there's some things that haven't been agreed upon. And with a long committee like that, every time new members come on, they come on with great ideas, some of which we've already discussed, some of which we haven't talked about yet. And so I'm looking for a way to kind of wrap this up so we don't have this, so this doesn't become a lifetime appointment for me here. Couple ideas that I have, and there's people that are think there's some good ideas. There's some people that think that there's some really bad ideas. And one is school committee policy to not use the popular vote method, and this follows along with an agreement with Hinsdale, kind of in spirit there. There's a possibility of advocating for changes to the law that allows a single town veto under the town by town method. That was one of the issues with the high school, with Cummington trying to get out of the district or thinking about it. It made sense to use the popular vote there. Another thing that I've talked about, that I brought up in the ad hoc committee, is possibly adding an addendum or maybe a forward or executive summary. I've talked to the state education department on that, and I have their legal office is working to see if we can add that to the regional agreement. If there are no changes to the regional agreement, then we would send this back to the 3 towns that have voted this down. Hopefully we can get 2 of them on board. If there are changes, whether it's through this addendum or executive summary here, then it would come back to all the towns. If there's more issues that the ad hoc committee feels that we need to open the whole document up and look at it, then we're looking at either the tentative special town meeting somewhere along the line, or spring of 26, if that could go to towns. What I'm looking to do is I don't want to open the whole document. We did a lot of good work, and it's kind of one of those things that we're not going to get everything, right? There's always going to be people that object or have concerns with certain issues here. And I'm trying to find a way to wrap up the work that we've done, and then maybe in another 5-year review period, another committee, hopefully they don't tap me, but another committee can take up the work and make changes if there's changes that are needed along the way. And that's kind of where we're at with that. If the select board has certain concerns or anything that they feel weren't addressed, I'd be happy to hear that. I'd take an email, and if the members of the public have any questions or anything, it's up to you guys. If you would allow that, I would try to answer some questions if anybody felt the need.
Certainly. Thank you very much, David Stewart, and I believe Tom has a comment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could briefly, for the audience, explain the relationship
yes.
of those numbers to the policies you were discussing.
Yeah, thank you. As I was saying, there's this sort of gets into the nitty-gritty of Mass General Law. There's Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 14D is that is the statute on how a regional school district would vote to incur debt. As I said, there's 2 methods. There's a town-by-town vote, which you can find the process for that in Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16, Paragraph D. The other method is the town-by-town, or is the popular vote method that is also Section 16, that is Paragraph N. So we use these terms back and forth. We'll say 16D or 16N, and that is a town-by-town vote in which any single town can veto the debt, or the popular vote, which was what we used for the high school, and that takes a tally of all 7 towns and the vote there.
We'll open up for some questions after,
Does that make sense? Thank you.
I want to reserve a little time for the board members to ask questions of Mr. Stewart, if there are any.
I do.
Okay, very well.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am a firm believer in the popular vote.
Yeah.
One man, one vote. That's the American way. Not one mini town in the district having veto power over the other 6. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those discussions of the popular vote or the, I'm drawing a blank now, but.
Town by town vote.
Yeah, it's, electoral college, right? You know,
Right.
we go back and forth with this all the
Right.
time,
That's
but,
how you end up with minority presidents. I
um,
don't think anyone likes that.
right.
To me, it's unpopular minority, like, less popular.
The less popular,
Less
the less popular vote, but the more,
More popular votes,
Yeah,
less popular,
and-
more electoral college. I know what you're trying to say, I'm trying to.
you know, and that's
That's what I'm saying.
you know, that's the thing, John, is that by law, the regional agreement has to provide both options, right? We've been through this. There was some confusion with Hinsdale, if you could leave one out or the other. And the way that the law reads, Section 14D, is that if there's no language in the regional agreement, then the default is the town-by-town vote. And that's what we currently have.
Dave, I mean, does the current standard for determining the electoral process include both options? And it's up to the school committee to make a decision on which one to utilize?
Correct. The law does provide that the school committee with a vote of 2/3 may use the popular vote method.
If
But-
it's already, excuse me, if it's already in place, then why do we have to change it?
Well, we don't. It clarifies it a little bit,
Okay?
where the language in the regional agreement pretty much follows that section of the law, and it does say that the town-by-town vote would be the default. But both options are available to the school committee
Right now.
right
As they
now.
were 5, 6 years ago when the regional district voted for the high school.
2019, correct. And
Four
it-
towns, it caused a lot of consternation, so to speak, when 4 towns then claimed if they were town by town, we couldn't have built a high school, right?
Right, so that popular vote, the high school passed by 81 votes, 4 towns had voted against it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
But
and so,
with majority of voters voted for it.
by 81 votes,
And
correct.
those 2 options are still retained.
By law,
And the popular vote can only be utilized after a 2/3 vote by the school committee.
correct.
I'd say leave the system alone.
Yep,
So, I just want to clarify that the town of Dalton at town meeting in 2024 did accept the regional agreement,
that is correct.
the revised regional agreement. So, from my view, if and when there is a revised agreement that's going to be put forth, then we've already agreed to the regional agreement.
That is correct.
And I don't know that I want to spend a ton of time yet on this, considering that the town of Dalton did adopt this. We have a packed agenda, and certainly I will welcome a couple of questions or comments from the audience. There's a couple people I think who have interest. But I don't want to spend a ton of time on this today, only because of the fact that we approved it already. That's the main reason.
Right, and I did look through the town bylaws. I didn't see anything in there that would say that vote wouldn't carry over, in a sense. So
As long as there's no addendums or.
as long as there's no change, that is correct. Any change would go back to town meeting.
Now, I understand that some towns may not want to agree to the agreement as currently written, and so they're looking for potential amendments or policies at the school board level that would give them some assurances moving forward particularly regarding the taking on of debt. We had a similar concern. There were members of the board, members within town meeting who expressed concern about it. But at the end of the day, I think enough people realized that it was a reasonable agreement enough so that majority voters passed it. But
Right, and I do appreciate that. And just for clarification, any school committee policy can be changed with the majority of the school committee. It's an internal process, and so if policies are made, they can be changed just as easily as they are made. First and second reading is the way that usually goes. And I'll say this, and I've talked to Hinsdale a lot. I've talked to other towns, and I think any time, any method that we use for debt, I think we owe it to the towns to come talk to you ahead of time, and really on another meeting, another time. I think it's important that we find a way to improve the communication between school committee and all the towns, not just for the budget, but throughout the year.
So I'll open up for a couple of audience questions or comments. I saw a hand up here, there, and maybe back there.
Like I said, I have no question. I thought I did, but I don't.
Okay.
It's too vague. I have a super quick question, just
Yes.
because I haven't been thinking about this at all, but.
Just please identify.
Cheryl Rose, 89 North Mountain Road. Is this all theoretical, or are you looking at some debt to be taking on some debt?
Debt comes up often enough. We're not looking at building we're not looking at another building and another major construction process. We do have some roofs that need to be replaced. Beckett, Neskis will come up. They're about 30-something years old. And so it does come up occasionally.
I just have a question, David.
Yes.
I remember 6 years ago, when you mentioned popular vote, was it ever considered weighting that popular vote based on per capita costs, much like capital is now, capital expenditures are now?
That would go back into the regional agreement about the makeup of the school committee, and there was some discussion about reducing the numbers or having a weighted vote. Right now, the school committee seats are apportioned out. Dalton has 7 seats on the committee. And we represent all towns, even though we're elected from certain towns.
So I'm asking in terms of a popular vote for a capital expenditure, that is.
I don't believe it's possible under the law, because the law dictates how that happens.
Just identify yourself.
Of course, just very quick, Dave.
Yes.
40 Raymond Drive. I would just stay within your, as Mr. Boyle stated, it seems like we have a system in place that's working. What I would ask and recommend is just consistency. Whether it's a small nugget or a big one, people expect one or the other. And I do know, I just feel, at least from the outside looking in, that trying to get 6 out of 7 towns to agree on something is quite difficult versus a popular vote. And I would say too, if you have a popular vote, you're consistent about it, I think you're going to see more of a voter turnout across the towns in support or against something because they know it's a popular vote.
Right. So that all 7 towns would have to be in unison under the town-by-town method. A single town can veto debt. And I will say for the vote on the high school, it was just under 50% of the district voters turned out for that vote.
But if you're consistent, whether it's small or big, people know that their voice in Hinsdale or Savoy have weight and they need to get out. They really want to vote against something or for something.
Yeah, and what I've heard in some of the smaller towns is that by maintaining the town-by-town method, they can veto that. They can have kind of a stronger voice when they have less percentage. right, Dalton has about 46% of the, 47% of the registered voters in the district currently, and about the same amount of school committee representation. So it's, I mean, these are good things. I mean, they're hard to figure out, you know, which is why we're still 4.5 years later working on a regional agreement. You know, thank you.
So, in my role, as a member of the select board, I was appointed by the select board to be a representative to the ad hoc committee. I'll continue to serve in that capacity as we go through this process. And if there's any developments or proposed changes, I'll certainly come back and report to this board and the audience as needed. Any other questions for Mr. Stewart?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I feel as though I have to take exception to your position that we are honor bound or duty bound or legally bound to support a decision and position that this board took 5 years ago. This board was totally different 5 years ago, and it's definitely changed, thankfully. And I just think you're in error that we have to stick with the same position that we decided on, or someone decided on for us 5 years ago.
What decision are you referring to?
Supporting this, supporting the regional agreement amendment.
It was the town voters in 2024 that voted to adopt the regional agreement, though.
Well,
So,
yeah,
I don't think,
maybe it was in 24.
yeah, okay. Well, so the board did support it, but then it went to the town for a vote.
Right. I mean, the voters obviously have the final say.
We certainly could bring it back to the voters if we wanted to.
I think
same
we-
agreement, but I don't see how that's productive.
Well, I feel we should put this on the agenda as a future item and then come up with what our position is.
I think we'd
We'll see. We'll see. I don't think we're making a decision on that right now.
No.
Yeah, and
But
that's,
I understand, I understand your perspective and duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, you know, the good thing is that there is a built-in review period just for that purpose. So that as changes in town makeup and board makeup and law, those can be addressed during review periods. Obviously, if something major happens, we can bring it back up, but that is why it's in there. So they're not left behind.
I imagine this topic will come before the board again, you know, in the coming months or, you know, as developments.
Yeah, and if I could, one last thing. So as far as the future timelines and going to the rest of the towns, Cummington, Hinsdale, and Peru for their annual town meeting this spring. But again, if there's no changes, I'm considering having a public hearing in April, just so another chance for particularly those towns that they could hear more about it or have more questions. It's a very difficult thing to make sure that everybody's concerns are heard, and we also move forward and get this done. So it's, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing here, but I'm here to talk to you about it and let you know I'm working on it.
Well, I think the engagement's appreciated.
Thank you.
And definitely look forward to seeing how this develops, and good luck in your future meetings with the rest of the towns.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Dan, I apologize. The process started in 2000. They worked on it for 3.5 years, then brought out for a vote in 2024.
Understood.
Yeah. Got carried away with myself.
That's okay. All right. We are now on to agenda item number 7, appointments to the Town Manager Screening Committee.
Mr. Chairman, it's my intention is to table this until March 24th, so we can get some more input, and so the select board chair could be here. I do know that you had offered it up for some questions from the residents out there. So if you want to get those questions or comments before I motion, once it's made, there's no debate or discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we heard from several audience, Mr. Hutchison.
Second?
Not yet.
No, we're on pause.
He intends to, but he hasn't.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry.
He hasn't formally.
I thought I heard.
So you started. You're happy.
So number 7, I was not in attendance at the select board meeting. There was a vote taken in the select board for John Boyle and Robert Bishop as members of the board to compile a list of names for the committee, and that's what they were presenting here tonight. So that's my understanding of why we have this list here. But be happy to take some comments for people who said they wanted to say something on this agenda item, but if you already said what you're going to say in your opening, I'd rather not get that repeated, because we need to be efficient. So for anyone who hasn't said anything on this agenda item that wants to, or only said they wanted to speak at the beginning, please do so. Mr. Rose.
Henry Rose, North Mountain Road. I agree with what Dr. Roman and Mr. Drozine already said, so I won't repeat that. It doesn't look transparent what happened. There should have been a call for people who want to volunteer. Let me tell you what it looks like to me. It looks like the panel was selected for people who are in favor of the new police station with all the bells and whistles. And that's going to be our major decision with this town. And it looks to me like there are people on it who would already have a strong bias in favor of going ahead without considering regionalization, without considering the true cost to the taxpayers. The current dispatcher, a former chief of police, somebody who's already on the building committee, those individuals are probably going to be heavily biased towards just going ahead with the building as proposed by the architect. And I think we have to be more careful about this. I think we have to be careful to spend our dollars wisely. So I advise you to go back and open it up to have people with expertise in interviewing and get a lot of input from the community and choose the people in a more democratic way.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Cheryl?
Cheryl Rose. So I just want to ask, is there going to be a process whereby you'll accept names of people who are interested? Like, are you going to change the process?
Well, I would suggest that anyone that's interested to be considered, just submit their name, address, and some accompanying data to either the town manager, the assistant, Lori over there, the assistant town manager, or executive assistant to the town manager. Excuse me. It's complicated more every day. Certainly, we'll have everybody.
Is there a deadline for that to submit by?
Yeah, we want to make a decision by
That's
the 24th. I think that was going to be in March, the 24th, so we can get this process started and potentially have someone in place for a trainee type position in the middle of June.
Okay, so the next week or so is plenty of time for somebody to...
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Send a note, email, you don't have to go down there, email, letter, call me, whatever. Put your name on the list, we'll have the list, and we'll consider everyone that's on it.
Understood. Understood.
Can we have David on Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say, I'm going to concur with the other speakers and not repeat themselves. I would suggest it might be appropriate to send a note out to all committee members, people who are already active in the community and have some basic understanding of what's going on in town hall. Those people might be appropriate to notify or to query if they're interested or not in joining this committee. So you're not randomly asking people who have no interest or have no knowledge of what goes on in town hall. Committee members might be an appropriate audience to poll with this question if they're willing to participate or not.
Okay. Thank you very much for the comment.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this till March 24th.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. And it's really in particular to these particular appointments for the committee. This is my understanding, right?
No division discussion.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, fiscal year 2026 budget planning and presentations.
I'm afraid that we do not have the financial budgets ready quite yet. So that leaves us with actually just 2, because I also have not gotten figures for vocational education at this point.
Okay.
We just have the library budget, which has only rises, the normalizes in salaries, and the expense budget is level fund.
Okay. TA for me on that,
DA,
on the library, and
Veterans Affairs.
TA on Veterans Affairs as well. I noticed that.
There were a couple of notes that need to be fixed under description justification. It's not an increase. It's a substantial decrease with our agreement with Pittsfield. And also the note under veterans benefits that refers to FY25. I will update that to FY26.
There is a question from Mr. Collins.
I've had a number of emails, and I've had a lot of people ask me when the board TAs something, they're wondering, is there a reason why we don't tell them the amounts that we're TAing? Is, for instance, with the library budget, is there a reason that we aren't saying temporary approved $227,437? Or because people in the audience and people watching from home, they have no idea what, we're going over budget, but yet they have no idea it's X, Y, and Z to them because we never say it.
Good point, Bob. You can do that. Start right now.
I mean, I didn't know if is there technicality or reason why we don't do that?
It then goes to the Finance Committee for review as well. The budget could change. I mean, yeah, we certainly could do that. And then, of course, the voters approve or not at town meeting. Yeah, certainly if you'd like to.
I just feel that for the people in the audience and for the people at home watching, that when we temporarily approve a budget, they are fully aware of what we're approving.
Good.
And it's not just $1 or it's not $100,
Yeah. It's
Start
important
right
to
now.
point out that the select board is not an approving body for the budget necessarily. It's called tentative approval, where it looks reasonable to the select board to move forward to the next stage. It's not really an approval by any means.
And if I can just add, the select board is especially useful in seeing if the budget reflects any policy changes within the department. So the department wants to move in this direction, they structure the budget that way. That's really what the select board is looking at. Do we want to move in that direction? And also, is it, or do you think it costs too much? And you say, no, don't even bring that to the finance committee. That's another option, at least for the budgets that are under the select boards and through me that direction. So yeah, the more technical work on the numbers does get done by the finance committee, but there's no reason not to mention the budget numbers here.
Sure. So in that case, for the library budget, we're looking at a total proposed budgeted amount of $227,467. That's a 2.65% total increase year over year from the prior budget year. Mainly and really only attributable to wage increases as part of our wage scale matrix. So for me, that's a TA.
Yeah. You can do the veterans.
Yeah, veterans is next, veterans benefits.
For that, there's a reduction from $13,000 to $2,250 for the veteran service officer through an intermunicipal agreement with Pittsfield. There are $500 in other charges or expenses, which has been decreased from $1,000, and $100,000 in veterans benefits. I will say that the town has to pay a certain amount of veterans benefits. We then get reimbursed for a large percentage of that from the state. And it may be a complete reimbursement, I'm not sure, but we still have to budget for it and spend the money and then get reimbursed for it.
And so for the audience, the total budget is $102,750. That's a roughly 10% decrease from the same period last year. TA, for me. Any other?
Chair?
Yes, please.
William Grosine, 878 South Street, and also the chair of the Finance Committee. I do find many people, to echo Robert's comment, many people ask the same question: how come the select board they don't generally bring up the amount of money? The Finance Committee does indeed make changes to the budgets. So we see the budgets in front of us. They're in a long form. We see what most of the expenditures are. We also use a five-year spreadsheet that compiles the history so that we can see if we can cut or we can allow things to move forward within the budget. Sometimes we make small changes, sometimes there's some pretty big changes. But we've got some big things coming, and the Finance Committee does oversee all the budgets and then present them to you when at annual town meeting. So it would be helpful for the select board to read the amounts that are presented to you, and then if we make changes, then people can see the work taking progress, the progress being made between the two separate boards. Thank you.
Certainly.
We just did it, Bill.
We will.
Thank you.
I think it's a great suggestion, and we can certainly do that in the future as standard practice. Mr. Hutchison, we have additional budgets that were going to be reviewed tonight, not on the agenda, but didn't make it because they're not ready. You want to talk about possibly meeting on the 17th?
Yes, and that is, right, that's the next item on the agenda, thank you. Yes, that has been on the budget schedule that was sent out as a possible special meeting. As it turns out, we do need it. So I would very much appreciate the select board meeting that evening to consider those budgets and perhaps some more that have been either substantially revised in the Finance Committee or need to be looked at again by the select board.
Okay. We make a motion on that, or? Let's call this.
Is Bob gonna be back next week?
No.
Oh, but, yeah, he's not going to be back, but I think he was okay with having a meeting.
Yeah, he can attend remotely for that one.
I'll make a motion to have a special meeting next Monday, March 17th. 7 o'clock senior center? 7 o'clock senior center. Second.
Okay. Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion passes. All right. Number 9, Orchard Street bid. There's an option for bituminous asphalt or concrete sidewalk as discussion.
Yes, you've got in your packets the full bid from the winning bidder that contains all the particular details. If I could go over the options piece that I sent you for you and the audience. That might clarify things. It's a complex set of options, but if you want me to go ahead and do that and try to explain what's going on, that
Yes,
would be good.
please.
Okay, the base bid, what everyone bid on, did not include a full sidewalk. In order to have a sidewalk, the town has to accept one of the alternates that was proposed and bid on with numbers. So I'm going to explain the 3 alternates. First, I'm going to explain the base bid and then the 3 alternates. And you'll see how they add up. So the base bid included a small center area to be paved with bituminous asphalt. That's what everyone bid on. That's the minimum package. Alternate A was for 2 additional stretches of sidewalk, one going out to Route 9, North Street, one going out to Main Street, Route 8. So alternate A is all asphalt. And that bid was $63,850. It was, I'm sorry. Yes. $63,850. The next 2 bids, when I give the number, it's on top of that number. So on top of the base bid and the $63,850. Alternate B was for just the outer sections of that sidewalk to be concrete. And that was $44,000 more than the 63. Then alternate C was for the center part also to be cement. So for the whole thing to be cement, it's alternate B plus alternate C. If we extended the middle stretch just as asphalt, that would bring the total cost, that's the additional $63,850 I mentioned before. That would bring the total cost of the project to $987,000, call it $988,000. The grant we got was for $1 million. So that bid falls within the grant. We don't have to spend any town money. And it leaves us with another $12,000 of a cushion. Having the whole sidewalk be concrete would be option B plus option C, or an additional $63,595. So the original was $63,850. All concrete would be an additional $63,595. So almost exactly doubles the cost of the sidewalk. Now, that means that it would be about $51,000 over the $1 million that we got from the grant, which means that $51,000 would have to be made up from the rural roads fund that we get from the state, or Chapter 90, or perhaps adding some of the sidewalk money we already have. So that's the decision before the select board, is which alternate option or options to accept. Then I can go back and finalize the acceptance of the bid.
Okay, well,
Well,
leave it up for comments, start with comments from the board from your questions.
With Chapter 90 money, so it's quite know if we have any Chapter 90 money to cover that $51,000 coming in at this time.
Oh, we do. It would be preferable for technical reasons to use the rural road money, which is a separate pot of money that we might also have.
I mean,
We have the money to do it, one way or the other.
without scraping for it, I guess. I was thinking Chapter 90 because we know that's sort of,
Yeah, we get a couple different pots of money
Okay.
from the state, and some of them go into our Chapter 90 account but aren't accounted for as Chapter 90 and that sort of thing, which would be a better way to do it, but that's just an accounting.
okay.
Yeah.
I think, I'll comment, I think we can all agree that the sidewalk, the whole length of the road makes sense. If we went with just asphalt, we'd still be under the 1 million, that's correct?
Yes.
Okay.
we would say 53,000.
Yep.
The over, wait a minute, plus the 12, for a total of 63,000, the taxpayers would say.
No,
It's a grant.
No.
no,
I know,
Yeah.
but in dollar amounts.
the total cost of the project would be $63,000 more. The amount made up beyond the grant is $53,000.
But by
And
going,
and that would be done with state funds that we
but
already.
by going with the option A, all asphalt sidewalk. It
Yes,
would be, bring the total package up to 9,087?
987,000.
Yeah, 987,000.
57, yes.
Okay, that's $12,000 under that we have for cushion, as you said, right?
yes,
And then, but if we use concrete, that
yeah,
will be 51,000, we'll have to take from someplace else.
yes,
All right, so 53 to 12 is $63,000.
yeah.
That's what I was trying to
Well-
say. That's how much we would save on.
These are a little bit rough figures.
Yes. So my humble opinion is no question about it. In order to save $63,000, we should opt for option one, option A.
I believe, I'm a concrete guy, I believe longevity of concrete will far exceed the blacktop. But, I mean, it's ultimately, I don't want the burden to be put back on the taxpayer for scraping up more money, but if we can go to chapter 90 or the roads fund, that we don't have, money to, I think that's where to go.
But Bob, that means somebody else's street won't get done, because we're taking on chapter 90, or the, what they
Rural
name,
roads.
rural roads grant,
Yeah.
and spending it on this. So, a street like, say, Tuller Road or Orchard Road won't be done because we did that.
I don't want to put Bud on the spot, but what's your preference or what's your thoughts?
I think anything would be better than what's up there now. I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to keep it all under grant. But, I know sidewalks were a big issue a year ago. It was the concrete and the asphalt, so. We have chapter 90 money that's not going to make it, so either which way you guys pick this one.
We're still, I'll certainly allow maybe a comment or two on this item. I don't recall if there was an audience member who expressed interest in speaking on this.
That's because it's Orchard Street and not Orchard Road, which
Thank
is
you.
constantly mistaken. So I don't know if the Orchard Road will count, so I definitely want to speak.
Fair enough. Can certainly take a comment from you in a moment. I just want to see if the board has any other comments.
Did we ever come up with last year when this was all the hot topic?
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
Did we ever,
brought it up at
did
the
the
town
board ever
meeting.
come up?
It wasn't here, it was at the town meeting.
I don't remember it. I know it was a big deal.
Well, it went to the town meeting, there was a table to review by the planning board. I think that was it 2 years ago or 1 year ago?
The question was, will there be a sidewalk or will there won't be a sidewalk? That was the question.
No, I think it was more than it was gonna be, if you could ban concrete, if that's what Mr. Logan's.
That was a separate matter though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was the motion on the floor, that was.
That never
It was-
carried.
No, it got tabled and sent to the planning board for review, and nothing's happened since then. Well, I do, that was there.
I think a concrete sidewalk would be desirable. It's a very high trafficked area. The concrete's gonna last longer, be more presentable. I think that for 51,000 on top of the grant, I mean, we're already getting, how much we asked for the additional sidewalk, if it was just asphalt, around 64,000 is already being covered as part of the grant, plus another 13, so I think that's a good deal for a long stretch of concrete sidewalk. That's basically, we're paying 51,000 for that entire stretch of concrete sidewalk, and that's good value, I think, for our money, but that's my opinion. Any other comments from the board before I open it up for a few from the audience?
Good.
Okay, we had Ms. Casati from the back.
Yeah, Ms. Santi, I have a two-part question. First, are you guys still proposing to have a discontinuous sidewalk on my property against my will, against my advice, because it's permanently in agriculture, at risk to the public, and keeping it separated regardless of what you put? Are you still planning to do that? Because I do
I
not
can't
want a
answer that.
sidewalk on my side of the street. I don't think it makes sense. It's in agriculture in perpetuity. It's a risk to kids and people when people are using, I'm not a heavy machinery, but I brush hog it and I hay it. And you guys all know that even a lawnmower can throw a rock. It's very dangerous to have pedestrians immediately adjacent to a permanently agricultural parcel. It also does not make sense. I have a child that's at Messicus. I would rather them cross the road once and walk the entire street along one side. I think it's really foolish, and so nobody's answered me. So are you guys still planning to have a disjunct sidewalk on my property against my will when there are many people in town that would love to have a sidewalk on their side of the house?
I don't have the answer to that question.
We did talk about it.
Never answered.
That is the current plan. To place it on the other side would be substantially more expensive and would result in a very substantial delay to the project.
How much more? You could just not put, you could put a retaining wall in that section or just not pave it there. It's not meeting a sidewalk on Route 9 at this point anyway.
And we cut down someone else's trees and bushes and
you're just doing it on my side because
disturb
it's
their
open?
property.
Isn't there
So-
already, excuse me, isn't there already the road already abuts your property though? What's the difference between the road and the
I'm
sidewalk?
saying that for like a child or people walking there, it's more dangerous for them to be adjacent to where the agriculture is going to go right up to the sidewalk. The whole entire thing. As you guys found out, it's an agriculture of perpetuity. You have to rescind your eminent domain taking
I
across
understand.
this property. APR is against the sidewalk there, but they're not going to share that opinion. But I just want you to know that there is a letter associated with that parcel in perpetuity. And should there ever be a liability issue, it will come back to the town as well as, probably the landowner and, the person, if there was an issue. I think it's ill-advised. There's a lot of people that want sidewalks in the town. Why are you going to put 1,500 feet on my property when I don't even live there? When there's homeowners that could benefit from increased property values by putting it on the other side. And if you need to save the money, put it in asphalt and build your retaining wall or whatever it is that you said why you can't put it on that other side of the street. It does not make sense to force people to cross the road twice just to use the sidewalk.
We'll definitely take your comments into consideration. Thank you very much. In the back.
Dan Filio, 36 Chivers Drive, Dalton. I grew up at 334 North Street in Dalton. I walked to Oklahoma High School many days on that street. And I can tell you that it's been probably close to 70 years the town of Dalton has been promising to do something about sidewalks on Orchard Road. I want to thank the board, I want to thank Mr. Hall, Mr. Hutchinson, for considering to get this done. This is something, as I said, has been being promised for years and years and years. And I, for one, and I can say many other people who grew up in that area, thank you for finally taking action to get this done. It's a very much needed resource. Besides the schools, children, dozens of elderly people and families walk on that road. And as I stated, thank you for taking into consideration of doing something about it.
Yeah. William Grosstein, 878 South Street.
Bill, can you stand up so people?
Sure. I have one question with relationship to the sidewalk. The curb that's going to be used for the sidewalk, is it going to be granite, asphalt, or concrete? That's kind of the first question. That can change, that can vary the price pretty dramatically. However, with asphalt, if you put a granite curb on an asphalt sidewalk, you can actually save money, and the asphalt holds up just as well as a cement, Portland cement concrete. So something to kind of consider when you're going through the process. It's just throwing it out there.
But Bill, what is
asphalt and blacktop. They traditionally put in what's known as a Cape Cod curb, like on South Street.
Sometimes, yeah, South Street,
Yeah.
South Street has.
You don't put granite next to blacktop.
Yeah, you do.
Well, anyway, I just want to point that out.
Look on Main Street.
On Main Street,
Yeah,
basically
Main
blacktop,
Street,
blacktop sidewalks the whole length. They've been there for 50,
On Main
60
Street,
years.
Congregation
Make a
Church
motion.
side, granted, anyhow.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion.
One last thing with relationship to Mazanti property. Are the sidewalks gonna be built on Mazanti property, or are the sidewalks gonna be built on town property?
Town property.
If they're gonna be on town property, then, the.
It's the right of way.
process.
It's the town
Yeah,
right
as long as
of
it's
way.
within the
Town
right
right
of way, generally, special permits are not needed.
No.
So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we go forward with complete concrete sidewalk.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve the concrete option for the entire length of the street or road. Any comments, discussion? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Yes.
Okay, one opposed, 3 yeses, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have item number 10, discuss and approve the letter to Berkshire Concrete regarding residents' complaints. Okay. So what we're discussing here is a letter from the select board to the planning board urging action in particular conditions on the special permit. Copy of the letter has been shared with members of the board for review prior, but we can certainly discuss the letter. I can read it out loud as well for the benefit of the audience,
Yeah,
which
good.
I will do so now. So this is addressed to the board chair, Andrew Pernick, the planning board chair. Dear Mr. Pernick, the select board heard complaints from a number of residents whose properties abut or are near the operations of Berkshire Concrete at our February 24th meeting. We understand you have also heard a number of complaints, as has the Board of Health. We are writing to urge you to impose special permit conditions that solve the problem of dust from Berkshire Concrete's operations. We understand that Berkshire Concrete is already under a condition to mitigate dust, and we support enforcing that condition fully in order to eliminate the exposure to Dalton residents of dust caused by their operation. We also request that you require Berkshire Concrete to provide a technical plan for dust mitigation that can be reviewed by the town, including our own technical consultants, prior to any deliberation on an application for a revised special permit, preferably prior to any application. We further request that as part of that plan, Berkshire Concrete should include hiring an independent air quality monitor for mutually identified sites who will send results directly to the town as well as Berkshire Concrete. Sincerely, the Dalton Select Board, named.
Yeah.
Comments from the board members?
Yeah,
on the
a
letter?
technical issue.
Yeah.
Bob suggested that I be the one to go to the planning board next meeting, which, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the 19th?
Right.
Right. Is that still the game plan?
Can very much be so, yeah.
Well,
Sure.
I certainly defer to the vice chairman.
I would support that, absolutely. As a motion, when we approve a letter, we can also include sending you as a representative.
Well, what I'm saying here is, if you want to go, I don't want to encroach on your authority.
I'm not planning on attending.
Okay, I'll do it then.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, second, it's on the 19th. Is Bob back here by then to sign this letter? Anybody know?
He's not, but it only requires
No, but.
Technically a quorum.
Yeah, but I'd like to have his name on it. Well, it's all right.
That'd be nice.
I'll mention that he couldn't be here. He's not here.
We do electronic signing documents.
Excuse me. I
could
believe Mr.
scan it.
Bishop will not be back till the 24th,
Okay, thank you.
or 22nd, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I can just mention that Bob supports it, but he is not here because he's on vacation. Thank you.
Okay.
I guess one of the things that I want to make clear is I also sit on the planning board. I will abstain from this vote as a selectman, so I don't have any cross-contamination of anybody thinking that I'm on one side or the other, so I can maintain my vote at the planning board, as long as my fellow board members have no problem with that. I will hold my vote and my major discussion of this for the planning board.
Fair enough. Okay.
Dan, we have a vote to approve this?
Yeah, in a second, just take your comments, sir.
I move that the board approve whole blood, planning board.
Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded to approve the letter as presented to be sent to the planning board.
Question.
Sure.
Henry Roads, North Mountain Road, any technical consultants, shouldn't Berkshire Concrete have to pay for that? And shouldn't the technical consultants be approved by the select board?
That'll be the purview of the planning board in the context of special permit.
I don't know.
That will not be our
About the
purview.
legality of that, Henry.
That won't be our purview.
The letter does imply that Berkshire Concrete will do the hiring. Any further conditions would have to be from the planning board.
Okay. If legal, that would be my suggestion.
So this is, to be clear, this is not a directive from the select board to the planning board. We can't do that. This is a request for these items to be considered as part of their process. So it's our way to communicate with this town board what we would like to see, but it's not binding by any means. Yes.
Two things. The town planner, Mike Van Dusen, 128 Hale Street Extension. The town planner was mentioning that looking for labs in order to do the testing that we're looking to do. So I did some homework and looking around. I have some things to give the town as options, as well as search terms to put in order to find more. If you would like that list, I can give them to you guys at the end of the meeting.
All right. I'll be able to share that with town commissioner, please.
The other thing is for the neighborhood group that this is impacts, to possibly get a copy of that letter.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can do that.
We're gonna sign it tonight, so you can probably get a copy.
Yeah, we should say it right now.
I think, we are in a motion, in conversation, and entertaining some comments from the audience, and certainly appropriate considering the circumstances, but I would like to move forward with a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you have more comments?
Done? Yeah, no, we
Yep.
sign it tonight.
Yeah, oh yeah, we certainly can, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other comments before we take a vote? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One abstention, 3 guest votes carries. We'll sign the letter this evening, and it can certainly be shared with audience members, with the general public. I don't think they have to go through the formal process of a records request, right, Tom? They can just request a copy of the letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can make some after the meeting.
There's a copy here. There's copies up here that people can take too. You can take mine.
So if you sign it, it will be even better.
That's what
Yeah,
we're gonna do.
absolutely. We've got a copy we can sign.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign mine right now.
I have a copy here.
Yeah, but let's use.
You wanna keep this? I'm sure I get it signed. Thank you.
Use Dan.
Yeah.
We're not gonna sign multiple copies. Sorry, we're not gonna do that right now. We're just gonna sign the copy that's gonna be sent, but we can make copies of that if you want the signed copy. Absolutely. All right. Very well. Thank you. Number 11.
Sir, early on, we had asked to comment on this particular piece.
Okay.
I had my hand up before you voted. I'm more than happy to say comment. I'm happy that you voted in agreeing with that letter.
Sure, please,
Sure.
we can.
So thank you, 140 Raymond Drive. I just wanted first to say thank you to the board and all the boards in town, that when we brought up this item, there seems to be a broad level of support, and your actions and your request to the planning board speaks to that. I appreciate, that was a promise you made in the last month, and you fulfilled that, and I most appreciate that. Since meeting, just a quick update, things have gotten far worse than they were. I'm at 140 Raymond Drive, approximately 1,000 to 1,200 feet from the area. My deck is covered with dust, my snow was covered with dust. My back windows are dirty, more dirty than they ever have been. My wife is, just so you know the level of this, my wife is considering not going, not spending a lot of time outside, not opening our windows for fresh air because of the current situation. It's certainly in the center closest to where Ron Griffin lives and the rest of his neighbors, horrendously awful. I asked them to just drive. The snow right now really shows the level of the dust. It's really affected our lives. And another thing, to show broader support, we currently have a petition that a number of people are out in the community getting signed. We're hoping to get the planning board with a significant amount of signatures, not just from our neighborhood, but throughout the town of Dalton, as we've discussed in previous meetings. And this is a Dalton issue, not just a Raymond Drive, the streets closest to us. And thank you, and I look forward to seeing some of you there on the 19th.
Thank you. Thank you, and sorry for trying to move to the next agenda item and not seeing you, of course, your hand up. That's okay.
Pete Person, 30 Florence Street, Dalton. My wife and I went for a walk last week with our dog up behind the old Dalton auto body in the pines to the point where you can overlook. And it was fairly windy, but it was as if we were being sandblasted. You had to pull your sweatshirt up over your face. There's a lot of material migrating out of that site. Last week when it was still cold, there are completely barren areas that just the way the wind whips through, there's no snow cover on it. You can notice it going up Pleasant Street. Once you get close to Hale Street, if you're heading towards Raymond Drive, once you get to about Hale Street, the snow gets from a whiter color to a darker color. And the same holds true in the woods, very much so. It's almost like somebody poured coffee with cream in it on the snow. It's really migrating out of that site. I just want to reiterate that. It's whatever can be done. I'm very appreciative of your vote tonight, but it definitely is moving out of there. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll take my turn now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Ron Griffin, 33 Florence Street. Live across the street from that gentleman and the beautiful wife he has. Last weekend, I think if you're a Dalton resident, you had to experience the high winds. True? True. What we experienced in our area, which, by the way, a lot of other people experience farther away because of how this product is carried in the wind. Somebody today, I was on Pleasant Street driving somewhere, and he stopped me and said, take a look at Center Pond. Okay? I went down to Center Pond, and all of the edges where there's still a little bit of ice, they're brown. Not white, brown. This particular problem, in order for it to be exacerbated, requires a considerable amount of thought and a process and a commitment by a contractor who to date is not paying attention to the health and well-being of the people in this community. It's not happening. And it's been this way. I talked to somebody who lives on High Street who said, I've fought this battle for 20 years. I only hope, remember, battles never win wars. All right? This battle has been continuing for years, but this town has never won the war. We're fighting big business, big bucks. And it's got to get to the point sometime. We talked about loss in the price of homes, cost of homes. It's going to happen, right? Gentleman lives on Raymond Street. How many homes do you think are on Raymond Street that have the same value as the one that was sold not more than 2 months ago? You guys know how much that went for. Say 30 to 40%. What's going to happen to tax revenue? Think about that compared to a contractor who's digging a site, causing problems, health problems potentially, value of properties, most certainly. Whatever the strength is of this message that we're sending to people to approve, it had better genuinely deal with the problem. I'm not sure today whether or not it will. And I'm concerned. I can't stay here and put my wife's health at risk. I'll leave. And a lot of other people will do the same thing. You'll see that happen because it's that bad. I don't know where you folks live, but if you see or saw what we see, you'd be responding the same way. This is emotional. We have to deal with it. Can't continue. I don't care how big this contractor is. I don't know how bad, I don't care how badly he needs that product. Is it worth what your people are going through? The people in this town? I don't think so. I only hope that you folks do, and the people you hand that document to. I appreciate your help in dealing with this matter because it's going to affect a lot of people and not in a good way. But thank you for your help.
Thank you. We got one in the front here, and then I'll take two more, and then
Cheryl Rose, North Mountain Road. I'm just reflecting on my experience on the Conservation Commission and listening to what these folks are saying, and I'm kind of wondering if there's a reason why the planning board isn't holding an emergency meeting or moving up and having a sooner meeting, like just keeping their regular, are they just keeping their regular schedule? Or are they moving it up? Because it sounds like there's real health concern here, and I'm kind of thinking that why are they not having a sooner meeting to address it? I mean, the Conservation Commission does that all the time. But if there's something we need to deal with, we deal with it.
you're welcome to address it. I don't have the answer to that.
Well, a lot of this has been a major conversation, but there's a lot of moving pieces in the background that the planning board needs the information before we can meet, so we can then have the information at that meeting. And it's been a very, as the one gentleman pointed out, finding some of the answers for having the analysis of the soil. It's not been an easy process to find. We've ended up in California. We finally found California State University is the theoretically only place that can do that, that level of testing that we need. We have contacted other academics that are waiting for the preliminary air tests from the DEP that have been conducted. And just so everybody knows, in the border here, I was up in that neighborhood on Saturday. It was quite an interesting tour through the neighborhood to see brown snow. And when I got to Mr. Griffin's house, it was like, you could almost say his front yard looked like a beach. If you didn't know there was snow underneath the ground, you would have thought he put a pile of sand in his front yard. It is disgusting, and there has been a cease and desist order put on, so there's There's no activity. The big problem that we all knew that was coming was the fact that the snow was gonna melt and it was gonna start to warm up, and then the sun having that, you know, southeast aspect was going to start to dry the sand, and with the heavy wind, we all knew this. That's why there's a cease and desist. The reclamation plan, that mitigation plan that has been coming back is taking time. They hired an engineering firm to do this. So it wasn't something that was supposed to be, you know, and for the people in the audience, I know, there was already supposed to be a mitigation plan and it was not in place.
It was not followed.
It was not followed. It was not in place. So I just want to,
So my question, excuse me, Ron Griffin, 33 Florence Street.
Okay, just so, I need to, a point of order here is that the agenda item was strictly to discuss and approve a letter to regarding Berkshire Concrete, and the residents' complaints. Now, we're getting into a broader discussion about the issue itself, which this board is not going to be able to solve tonight. This is not the forum to do that this evening, although I will take a few more comments, but I want to close this one out because frankly, the next planning board meeting will be the one you want to attend to have this conversation in depth with the permitting authority for that property. We're not the permitting authority. Of course, you want our support, you have our support. But there's not much more we're going to be able to do other than listen, which is great. So I'll take some more. Go ahead, Mr. Griffin, please.
My only comment is, I don't quite understand how this town got to this point, given the fact that someone had been assigned the responsibility to ensure that the requirements were followed as far as how they mitigated the site. And it hasn't happened. There's no pebbles on the road. Pretty simple response, right? Make sure there's pebbles on the road to minimize the dust that's kicked up by the trucks. Nothing. Cover the material. I don't think so. Hasn't happened. Use water. The only water they probably use is when it rains. Very simple process. But whomever had the responsibility to ensure that those steps were addressed, not doing their job. I appreciate what you gentlemen have done here. I understand where you're going. But it's got to come to a point where it's addressed the right way, by the right people, so that we don't have to deal with it on a daily basis. So I appreciate where you are, and I appreciate your support. I genuinely do. Mr. Collins is going to have a little bit of a challenge in front of him. He's been very, very good. He's been very close to the community group that's been dealing with this, and we appreciate your support, and we expect more.
Just Dave, do 140 Raymond Drive. When we had asked for the cease, one thing I just want to say this to you so you're just mindful of it, is there is, I would hope there's been no activity as far as extra mining. But the mitigation plan never follows, not being followed. There's currently nothing being done to mitigate. And maybe in their eyes, they're not allowed to be over there, so they're not going to do anything. But in the meantime, it's really bad. Nothing is being mitigated. So it's making one of the concerns I have with the cease and desist was, I don't want the situation to get worse. It was compounded by a lot of winds, and the situation is now worse. And as much as I want that process to be set and really thought out, I think there needs to be a response for them right now to try to mitigate with their current plan without further digging to keep the neighborhood safer. And that, my thought is, there's no mitigation currently happening, and nothing may be happening until something is solved. I think they need to do something to mitigate. So just be thoughtful of that.
Absolutely. I just want to make a comment on that. There's a site visit apparently tomorrow. Is that members of the planning board, as well as the zoning enforcement officer?
I don't know that, but I do know that John Culver, when
Sound planner
it's going tomorrow.
Member of the planning board.
I was asking about that.
Okay. All right. So site visits obviously are a big part of the permitting authority's process for the special permit. There is a site visit tomorrow. As far as enforcement, that's the purview of the zoning enforcement officer, which, you know, if there needs to be more urgent action taken in that regard for mitigation, current mitigation, then I'm not sure. Does the select board have the authority to direct the zoning enforcement officer to go and ask questions and conduct a visit?
Yeah, I can certainly see whether he can do the one tomorrow. And
I'd say we get him out there tomorrow with them, if we can.
Well,
He may have a schedule of appointments that he can't break.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to step on another elected board's purview. They may have already directed him to go talk with Berkshire Concrete. I don't know what's transpired, and I don't want to do one thing that the planning board maybe was already planning on doing. I don't want to step on their toes, so.
Did they, he's right here from the planning board.
And I am going tomorrow as the planning board representative with the October town plan.
And you're meeting on the 19th, your next regular meeting?
Correct.
I mean, I'm in support of directing the zoning enforcement officer to do a site visit post-haste prior to the next planning board meeting. I'd be in support of that. I imagine the planning board's not going to be able to vote on directing the zoning enforcement officer to do that because it's not meeting till the 19th. So,
You know, because he's been there, right? He was there last week a couple times, I do believe. Yeah.
It is the zoning enforcement officer's job. It's a dual role. They do permitting as well, and there are any number of sites and homes in the town, depending on the needs and the permitting requirements or permitting schedule. But I'd be in support of a motion to direct the zoning enforcement officer to do that.
But you make a good point. He may already be involved in the process. Then us telling him.
So the town manager check that out.
Yeah, he just has.
Yeah, Tom has his hand up.
Yeah, in some ways, the cease and desist order is the strongest measure that he can take. He can, order them to he has ordered them to comply with the conditions of the special permit, which includes mitigating dust.
Which they have been compliant.
They, I think, may now be in a position to start using water again, so that would be a good thing, and I have a note to suggest that to him. They did hire an engineering firm to come up with a serious mitigation plan that the town will look at critically. And I saw a video of the large stretches of sand that the wind was just picking stuff up off of. It's one thing to direct him to do something, it's another for that to result in the appropriate action. And there are other moving parts in that process too. So the timing with the weather is very unfortunate. I think people are in general moving forward the way they can, and I'm all in favor of, asking them. You already said stop operating, so that was a good thing. To now say, and make sure it's all wet all the time, would be another great thing. And I have a note to say, okay, now that they might be able to do that effectively.
I think, yeah, specifically
That's
mitigation
a good idea, but
efforts.
that kind of,
Mitigation efforts that can be taken now.
Yeah.
That are already part of the special permit to reduce the amount. I know there's a cease and desist order, but that doesn't address actually mitigating the issue at the moment.
Right.
I'll take a couple more comments from the audience. I feel like this agenda item, tonight's discussion was not the intention of this agenda item, although I do appreciate everyone's comments. And I think if any result were to come out of tonight, it would be the letter we sent to the planning board with the select board's view and some requests for special permit conditions. And number two, that the zoning enforcement officer would make a visit to look at current,
Yeah, don't
site
wait,
conditions,
don't wait for the
notwithstanding the cease and desist
thing
order.
to do something. That's the point.
And there is actually a motion directing the zoning enforcement officer to visit. Mr. Strout made the motion.
I don't think
As
it's
so-
necessary. The zoning enforcement officer, who is also a building inspector, is responsible for enforcing permits, special permits issued by any board in town. Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, Conservation Commission. No? No, wait, no. Anyway, it's all we have to do is ask the town manager to make him aware of this is a very critical situation, and he should be particularly noting his obligations as it pertains to this issue. In other words, get out there and enforce the petition.
Make it a priority.
Yeah, and we're only talking about the permit for that eastern thrust mining operation this Wednesday. That is a small part of the total operation. Now, on the special permit, I think I asked last time, and somebody said, for the whole operation, it comes up in November. That's the big kahuna. And are there mitigations attached to that permit that have been overlooked for years on the annual renewal permit?
That's Dalton Point. So do you think that already talked about the Big Bang story? I'm wondering if that didn't come out first, because at the beginning,
We mean,
the forum was
they're not talking about this.
town members can stand up.
I'll take a couple more comments on this.
I wasn't finished yet.
Okay.
This is of vital importance. This special permit next Wednesday, the 19th, that the board is going to be considering is for an eastward thrust of a mining vein towards
Raymond Drive.
Raven Drive, excuse me. And they may get it, the special permit, I'm guessing they will, and they'll put conditions on it, yeah, that's great. But that's not going to alleviate the problem. The problem is the whole site over there. And that's up for renewal in November. And there probably was a special permit issued last November, because they have to take them up annually. And that's the one you really want to concentrate on. Yes, this is a big thing next Wednesday, and we don't want to overlook it. But don't overlook the special permit that governs the whole tract over there. I don't know how many acres there are, probably 50 at least. I'm done now.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll take two more comments.
The person in the back there spoke it all with you.
And then we'll come to you.
Hi, Sue Person, 30 Florence Street. I live directly across from Mr. Griffin. Couple of things with the mitigation issue. They haven't done anything yet, obviously. But even 2 weeks ago, when it was still cold out, the snow was still covering the flat ground, the vertical surfaces will never be covered with snow. So without being covered with snow, it was just open all winter. So that is my first thing. So if they're going to comply, great. If it works, wonderful. If it doesn't, something else will need to be done. I also stood at the compactor for 3 hours Saturday morning. And the amount of dirt, sand, dirt, whatever, blowing directly from whatever's to the other side of the compactor and then straight through the entire mining operation, from his processing plant to the gravel bed that he's no longer using to the sand pit, all is going up and it's going over the hill. So he has not done mitigation of the larger plant. Just a thought.
Thank you.
Good point.
Oh, and go on a windy day. That's a real treat.
I don't know if it's something that Mike Van Dusen, 120 Hill Street Extension. One thing that I came to mind about all this is what are the town's bylaws in regards to hazardous materials? Because that's kind of what this situation is. So I wonder if that allows for the town to have a little bit more teeth in this situation if it looks to that.
Well, I think there's testing being done, the air testing, so at least the results of that to know. That's important, part of that, getting the information. It's difficult for a board to act without good information, and then it could be looked at as arbitrary, capricious action that's not supported by evidence. So it's important to get the air testing result. All right, one more comment, and I'm going to close this topic. Oh, I had Cheryl, sorry, I had Cheryl had her hand up, that's why I did it.
Okay. I want to pass this on to you because the Conservation Commission learned that we had no teeth when we put enforcement orders out. Really, that we'd have to take somebody to court, and the town wouldn't want to have to pay to take somebody to court. But the state, actually, Conservation Commissions, started putting in penalties. And I'm suggesting if the planning board doesn't have this, write a bylaw that you can start with, a certain warning, and then it's something, and then every day that a violation is happening, they're chalking up a dollar sign, chalking up a dollar, because they're not motivated to fix the problem as long as they can just kind of, there's no teeth. You got it? So that you need to do that.
We have.
You need
We do have those provisions in our bylaws. I believe I don't know the exact schedule, but it is there. It's just a question of is there a formal violation that's been cited in writing to the permit holders?
Is there not?
Well, there's a cease and desist order, but it's a question of are they violating the special permit conditions? Has there been an actual permit violation, a citation? It has to be an actual citation.
Okay, so
this is not our board, I'm sorry.
Right, so they should issue the citation.
Exactly. I feel like I'm biting off more than this board needs to chew right now, and I appreciate everyone's time on this topic very much. Thank you so much. I'm going to close this topic.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Number 11, proposed town meeting, capital and other warrant items.
Yeah, you see before you the first draft of the annual town meeting warrant. I left the space for Article 1 as a citizen petition just to remind myself and the board that last year you all voted to put the citizen petition at the first position. We now have 2 citizen petitions. They're both at the end, but this is just a reminder of that decision you made last year when we get to those. The first 13. The first 13 articles are more or less pro forma. That will be where we vote money into stabilization funds. That's the only real difference from everything else. Everything else is the standard budgetary articles. Article 14 is the article that suggests rescinding. Now, it may be that this doesn't technically have to be on, but it would be, I think, a very good idea to have it on. To see if the town will rescind its vote of May 1st, 2017, regarding the disposition of the old Dalton High School for demolition of the building and sale of the property for redevelopment for houses. The purpose of this, and it would be in the motions and explanations document, would be to make that plot of land available for a possible police station. Pending whatever it needed to move to that. But that would at least open up that piece of land as part of that discussion. So that's the purpose of Article 14. I don't know if if you want to discuss that now.
Yeah, we can discuss that.
It's not specifically saying it would be for the police station in the article.
No.
But it would be in the explanations that that's the moving force behind the article. So that it makes it available.
If this did pass, it would now, that land would not be dedicated to any specific persons.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Not specific
Right.
use.
Not specific use.
Would allow some flexibility to discuss future use at town meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
you got Dalton days going on there right now, it's working out pretty well.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm in support of the article, to let the voters
Yeah.
have a conversation, decide. Frankly, I think we need to keep our options open for this plot of land for that potential use or maybe another use. But also, I don't think any houses will be built there until the drainage issues solved with Walker Brook. I mean, maybe they could be, but I'm not sure that people would make the investment without.
Well,
And again, I'm not, well, Bud's doing some testing this spring with finding out what the water levels are in the culverts. But I haven't really found much to think that the problems in the old high school basement were anything other than sort of normal groundwater and maybe a foundation that let the groundwater in rather than flooding. And the design for the new police station does not include a basement, so it wouldn't even encroach on groundwater. So anyway, but that is a particular use, and this would just be to open it up again to be able to be part of that conversation.
Where is the Walker Brook upgrade or construction? Where is that at?
Right now, it's nowhere because it would cost $5 million.
Okay.
If it were eligible for the federal grant that it's most likely to be the best fit for it, the town would still have to pay 25% or $1.5 million.
Right.
And we would have to show that it would avoid $5 million in damage. Meaning, if there had been flooding around here that caused $5 million in damage, we could show that to the feds and they would say, oh, okay, we'll fund this project to avoid that in the future.
We'd be hard pressed to prove that.
Never happened.
So that's what that is.
I believe there were 2 audience members who expressed interest in this agenda item. They got their hands raised, and I'd be happy to take their comments.
Okay, Tony Paglu, 617 Old Windsor Road. We looked at, obviously this is a parcel, and the one behind us here are contiguous in terms of parcels that the town owns. It's one of the 4 that we're recommending in terms of feasibility. When we discussed this late last year, we found that there was an engineering report, GAZ Geo-Environmental, I believe. It's an 11-page document completed in March of 2022. I strongly suggest that the select board look at that document in terms of the Walker Brook. Walker Brook crosses over High Street, runs down here, Field Street, 45s, that corner into First Street, 90s, across or up Glennon, and then through the Riverview Run into the area there. That culvert is 60, 70 years old. They recommend 2 things. I'm not going to get into the report, but one is that that property be considered as a daylight in terms of any flood-prone activity. They also recommend upgrading the culvert, but prior to that, of course, they're saying you have to conduct an inspection, a really good inspection. So I really caution you before you went ahead to have that document and to look at it and see what you want to do for further research. The other thing is, our committee, we were going to go forward and have a meeting, town hearing in terms of, because that was a hot button item several years ago. And I would strongly suggest that the select board, in conjunction with the building, the feasibility group that we're on, have a meeting here and get the input from the neighbors, if not from the town. I think that's really important. So those are two things I'd ask you to consider. Both very, very important items.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Ian Coyle, 36 Chivers Drive. I worked a great deal on the walk project with Ken Waldo and Becky Slick. To what Mr. Hutchinson was saying, the grant that we sought federally was based in part on the old Vescus school. Because by having that school, we were able to show that there were damages to town property. When we tore that building down, we lost that. Because they don't, believe it or not, they aren't concerned with flooding in people's private homes. It's public property. And that's what the issue is and was. But I would contend with Mr. Hutchinson on the fact that the cellar of the old school was acting as a retention pond. Every time it rained, 50,000 gallons went into that cellar. When they went to tear it down, they emptied the water out of that cellar. There was a rainstorm. They had to go back in and empty out the water out of the cellar again. But that was also quite a distance underground that was in. Maybe he's right about the fact about groundwater was affecting it, but there is a lot of questions that have to be done on it. And I believe in the last open space, has a mitigation plan. The area was declared a flood zone. It is an issue that should be looked at. This was built on land that used to flood. They did it by building it up, so there may be plans that could be done with it. But it's something you should be thinking about when you go and look forward for that property. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, do members of the board have any objection to including this article? Again, it's going to be the decision of the voters, and it's essentially asking the voters to rescind the vote allocating this property to housing specifically, I think is all we're asking. Maybe green space might be the ultimate best use for that property, who knows? I don't know, in light of Walker Brook, but in any case, I think it's not a bad thing for the town to have multiple options available rather than just one. That's where I see it.
I'm all for it.
Okay. All right.
14, right?
Yeah.
So the next three are adoptions of state law, local options. The first one, the wording may be tweaked by town council. We do already enter into payment plans with taxpayers. And while we're not in conflict with any specific statute, there is a statute that authorizes the treasurer to do that. And it would be cleaner if the town adopted the statute that authorized the treasurer to do what she's already doing. For Article 16, that's the HERO Act, and you have the financial impacts of that on another sheet. I had gone over them before, but if you'd like to review those now, I'll just mention that the total current exemptions are reimbursed by the state. And if we accepted both of these parts, we would be spending about $33,000 of, it's not exactly that we wouldn't be spending $33,000 of our own money. We would not be receiving $33,000.
And that would be reimbursed by the state?
No, that's above what's reimbursed by the state. Only what's there currently is reimbursed by the state. This is a local option. It would mean that we would now not collect another $33,180 roughly per year.
I have a question. Is your proposed article on the HERO Act included in the HERO Act in its entirety?
There are things in the HERO Act that don't apply to towns.
No, well, I mean,
These are
what you submitted here on the warrant.
Yeah.
Does that include all the provisions in the HERO Act that are available to veterans?
Through towns?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay. Because you mentioned that there was a potential or a possibility of only approving or accepting parts of the HERO Act.
Right. Because the HERO Act is very broad and it has a whole lot of provisions.
Okay.
And these are the two that I've seen that are for towns to adopt.
Okay. In other words, 100%.
We can go through it.
No,
more
no,
and
no.
try to find a
okay, this thing. I'm asking it is 100% of what's available to veterans through the town.
I believe so.
Okay.
But I haven't gone through it with a fine tooth comb. These are the ones that I know that are being proposed.
A lot of veterans ask about
for
this.
towns.
And they're very, I'll bring this up. A lot of veterans are very happy with the new arrangement with the city of Pittsfield.
Oh, good. Good.
And they be told that they can, instead of waiting until once a month to go down to the senior, we're at the senior center. You come down here and they can just go out to the Pittsfield office anytime. There's a parking lot in the back. It's in the senior center, by the way, out in Pittsfield. And there's a parking lot in the back just for veterans and a door for veterans, and you can go out there anytime.
That's good.
So,
because a month's a long time. You know?
So, rightly note, we'll dive in deeper to the HERO Act and see if we can find anything else.
Yep. Okay. I got a copy of it somewhere, but you're right. There's a lot of stuff in it that doesn't pertain to towns.
Article 17 allows the town to retain some funds for unclaimed property that are now required to be returned to the state. This has to do with foreclosure, but it's more the abandoned funds part of it rather than like an abandoned house. Article 19 again, the green burials, you heard a presentation on that. Article 20 is the selling the parcel of land off North Street, 9.5 acres.
And that, is that a simple majority vote?
Authorizing the select, well, I'll check on that. Yeah, it is real estate, so it may be 2/3. I'll check on that. Paying a bill of $202 from the fiscal year. Article 22 is the planning board's amendment to the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, which makes it compliant with state law. Not too long, actually, just a page, legal page. Article 23 is a capital stabilization fund item, the police cruiser, that is typically an annual rotation of vehicles. Article 24, this would be the free cash article. which is pretty thin this year, you'll notice, because a whole lot of things that people normally would have asked for got funded through ARPA. So that is saving us a lot of money here. I will probably propose that a much greater portion be directed to stabilization funds. So for the Department of Public Works, I think you heard Bud talk about the sidewalk scan project. That's a minimum of about $7,000. For $15,000, we could get a much more detailed analysis, but I'm not sure we need it. I can have Bud has left. I can have him come in and talk about that more, and his preferences for that. And then, of course, the truck. And he has left, so he can't discuss that either. I guess we went on too long for him. And I know, Robert, we were going to get him some information on
Yeah,
that.
he and I are gonna meet about it.
Okay.
I believe the truck is just way too expensive to meet. One idea that, I talked to Mike, passed out a map today to the select board and to you, Tom, that showed.
Oh, yeah.
That all the highlights in green. I drove around town with the sewer map. All the highlights in green are all the areas that the truck that flood once would not access these areas of the town. It's about close to 3 miles of sewer lines that would be unable to be accessed. That a smaller unit that I proposed to talk to Bud about, or just going back to a jetter, and possibly giving him a line item for, rather than renting a back truck for one month, give him the ability to rent for multiple months, because he's saying that he's unable to get to the manholes in that 30 days of jetting and backwork when he has the truck in town. And these trucks, you know, for $560,000, these trucks have a 12 to 15 year lifespan. And if you want to put it in perspective, we could rent that truck for 23 years, once a month, for 1 month a year. So if we wanted to be more fiscally responsible, I believe if we had a line item for him to rent that truck 2 or 3 months a year, so he could get his manholes and all his catch basins done and stick to a jetter truck, I think the town would be further ahead financially. Maybe someday down the road, but I don't think right now with some of the major funds that I see that it makes sense.
How much would the expenditure be to rent a truck for 2 months?
So I went and saw the town treasurer, and it comes out to, just for argument's sake, we're just gonna round it to $15,000 a month.
A month?
Yes. So
So in 10 years,
yeah,
$150,000.
Yeah.
What if you do it
But
2
if
months?
you do it 2 months or 3 months, you got 7 years.
300, but
Yeah,
you're still.
but you're still money ahead.
If you're gonna do this tour in, say, July, August, September, or something like that, you have to reserve this truck
So
for
there's
a month, you know, like in the winter, make sure you can get it?
there's a lot of these trucks out there. There's I rent these trucks in the summer myself, and I usually can get my hands on one within a week. They're there. I know that he was renting from International Sewer and Main. They're a little bit bigger company. They do have them out, but I don't think it's a big deal. And he knows that he'd like to jet in July, and he'd also like to do it in August or September, because the leaves start to fall.
Yep.
That's where I was coming up with, hey, maybe we rent August and September
Right.
for the first year, and maybe the second year he finds he needs a third month. But I think that would save the taxpayers a ton of money.
I think that, I've always heard this about big equipment like
Big
graders and big equipment. It's always astronomical repair cost.
Yeah, it is. So I'm speaking for myself and my company, my average maintenance cost on my truck is between $15,000 and $20,000 a year.
So there's another 50 to 20,000.
Yeah,
And the older it gets, and the more you use it, the more
Yeah.
maintenance it takes.
Correct. So and these trucks have a life expectancy of 12 to 15 years.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys can agree on it, I'd be supportive of that.
For the record, he definitely needs a new jet, whether it's a truck mount or a trailer.
Is the one that we got, does it have any traded value?
I can't believe it would. It sounds like chitty chitty bang bang.
Yeah.
And it's 21 years old.
So, quick question, Tom. Did Bud present his capital request yet? There may have been an inkling of it at some point, but has the formal request come through? Was it supposed to come through tonight? But
He did it 2 weeks ago, he brought it
Oh,
up,
okay.
and then there
Yeah, it
was
wasn't that.
the exchange. Another point that Bud had was just scheduling, and bringing up the dread Christmas Eve sewer break disaster. It's, because it's not just maintenance, it's also like emergency response and repair. He felt that he would like more flexibility in being able to help out. There are times when he can't wait, 24 hours, let alone a week.
There's actually
For the same.
weeks.
Anyway, that's a discussion between you and I, just pointing out what his.
We're meeting next week to go over additional budgets. Can we continue this conversation next week in light of time, and if we can invite?
Yeah, you will have met with him.
Yes, we're meeting Thursday.
Yeah, sure, so that sounds.
I think that's definitely a good course of action.
Yeah, so that's fine. And there's just a couple more. This is really light on free cash this year. There's a proposal, it's about $16,000 for painting the walls on the second floor. I haven't been done quite a while. They suffered some in the during the renovation, and that is that request. And then finally, an update to the town's wage and classification system, rather than waiting 2 more years for another $25,000 grant. Getting that done now would very much help internal equity and staff morale. Article 25 is for all of the heating, ventilation, air conditioning. It should say plumbing as well, sorry. Oh, no, wait, plumbing, did that go somewhere else? No, I think.
Plumbing's 22,000 on this sheet.
Yeah, I think plumbing is supposed to go there.
Yeah, there's an and at the end of section 2, but then there's no continuation of
Clean
that.
out, and I'll just add plumbing to that.
Okay.
So those are the combined town hall improvements. That's a borrowing article, about 1.2 million.
Mm-hmm. Is there going to be a presentation on the need at town meeting?
Yeah, I can do that. I've left Article 26 on there. Chief Strout said that she thought there was an alternate path for removing us from civil service, but I did not hear any follow-up on that yet. I'll check on that and see if that's coming through. I just left it on because I haven't heard anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are 2 citizen petitions.
Okay.
One is establishing a capital planning committee for the town, and that's about a page and a half. It does go on as presented, so not really anything for the select board to do about it, but do look through that. I think it would be a great idea myself.
It's a good idea. I wonder why there's no member from the select board who's invited to be on this proposal anyways.
Well, it can certainly be amended on the floor. So I think, And then Article 28 is an act providing for recall elections in the town of Dalton. So those are the two citizen petition articles. It has been my practice to put them at the end of the warrant. Again, last time, I think the citizen petition for the concrete sidewalk was moved to Article 1, but then tabled.
So on the recall, don't we already have a bylaw for recalls?
I don't believe we do.
You sure about that?
I will check.
I'm pretty sure that,
There's a mechanism already in place.
You have to petition the state legislature to hold a recall election.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
This would be filed with the town clerk.
This is meaningless.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is the first time reading this, so.
And that is the current warrant. Any comments or questions, I strongly urge people to get in touch with me prior to the next meeting to try to iron out as much as can be ironed out before the next meeting.
Would you be able to prepare or maybe have the section of state law just printed up or shared in the meeting materials regarding the recalls? I just want to see what the actual provision is currently.
I was going to check to see what was in our bylaws. For a town to do it, it does have to be a petition to the legislature. They have to pass it.
Right, you have to grant the municipality permission to hold a recall election.
I see. And that level of, that's a lot to go through to conduct a recall election, right?
Yeah, and
it makes it so it cannot be this frivolous, arbitrary,
Frivolous.
I don't like you,
It typically takes a while to get through the legislature. They typically ask whether there have been any, and whether there's been any talk of recalling anybody right now. That is this people trying to get something through right now? And I haven't heard any talk about recalling anybody, so it's actually a good time to get it through if the town wants to get it through.
I mean,
Well, you have
is it,
to-
go ahead.
You have to ask your legislator, your senator, your representative, to present a bill before the legislature to authorize the town of Dalton to conduct a recall election.
Well, to be able to
The town can't dictate the terms of that, like all this stuff in here. And it's usually granted under a home rule petition. I mean, other legislatures don't care what you're doing in your town.
But not every election. This allows the town to hold recall elections upon petition of 50.
I don't have anything more to say about it.
Yeah.
If we can get a review from legal counsel, just.
We'll get a review from counsel.
The whole warrant, obviously. I want to just dig into this one a little more. I'm curious about it.
If there's anything wrong with this and it gets kicked back by the Attorney General, we can't now change anything that's in this because this is how it was presented.
Correct.
So.
It's not our.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's a problem with it, if the Attorney General has a problem with it, that's not the town's problem, it's the
Petitioner's.
petitioner's.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. That's good enough for me. All right.
Did you have any thoughts about the placement of the citizens' petitions?
At the end. That's fine.
I'd like to either get rid of that Article 1 or...
Where do they usually go?
I have always put them at the end. It's totally up to the select board. It's the select board's agenda.
You know
Last
what?
year, the select board moved a petition to the front of the warrant. That was the concrete sidewalk, cement sidewalk.
So there's no like, this is how it's done by law or
No.
regulation?
Any preference? I mean, to be honest with you, it does not matter to me where it is.
Well, I think they should be at the end. We should take up the important business first. This is, to me, kind of frivolous, but I would move that we sign these 2 petition articles. To do it.
Yeah.
2 petition articles to the end of the town meeting warrant.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I would say, did we only have 1 petition last year?
Yes.
It was, I'm not trying to say that that's more or less important than any other citizen petition, but I will say this. I agree. I don't know, we probably shouldn't have put it at the first one last year, because frankly, it should be town order of business, and then this is what citizens are petitioning for. I mean, I think that makes sense. It's not a meeting to discuss specifically a citizen's petition, but it's certainly a part of the meeting.
And we have traditionally put the budget items first because they're...
That's where the money's being spent.
Foundation of the...
Yeah, so I would agree with it. So any other comments? No. All right, all in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we have some event requests before the board.
Yeah, 2. The Little League Opening Day Parade, you have a letter about that?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Dalton Hinsdale Little League Parade scheduled for Saturday, May 3rd from 9 a.m. till 9:30 p.m.
Second.
Or 9:30 a.m., sorry.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just one thing. I can't even remember if we have a specific parade permit that's required to be signed by the select board and maybe other departments. If there is, I'll let you know. We can come in and sign it.
Okay.
Oh.
I asked Heather about that. She said we do not need a permit for parades.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion carries.
And then the Dalton Road Race on Sunday, May 4th. I did forward that to the police chief, who had no comments.
Make a motion, we approve the 48th annual Dalton Road Race on Sunday, May 4th, 2025.
Thanks.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, next up we have signing of the contract with the police sergeants union. Is it sergeants or supervisors?
Sergeants.
It's the
It's the sergeant's contract, right?
yes. Their association is called the Supervisors Association.
Okay.
So it was as presented at the last executive session.
It was approved at the executive session.
Yeah.
We're just signing. Is Bob gonna sign this, you know?
Yeah, he
When he
can.
comes back, I'll leave a
Yeah.
space for it at the top.
Three is, enough to make it legal.
Okay.
Anybody else can sign whenever they want.
Okay. There you go. And we have the town manager update next.
Yes, thank you. I convened a meeting on March 4th with Berkshire Concrete and our health agent and town planner, as suggested by Mass DEP. To be sure, Berkshire Concrete knew about the conditions that are being discussed for their special permit. The meeting was to give Berkshire Concrete some idea of the potential conditions being considered for their special permit and implications for future work. Town staff provided Berkshire Concrete with a comprehensive review of comments we have received to date that could be considered in future special permit conditions. I've been asked to report on the process and timeline for the next contract for our community aggregation, electricity aggregation through Colonial Power. Our current contract for our aggregated electricity supply, an unusual 2-year term instead of a 3-year term, runs from January 2024 to January 2026. So we've passed the halfway point. Colonial is planning to start considering a new contract later this spring when winter prices have settled down. They will convene meetings of representatives of the towns in the aggregation effort, who together will decide the benefits of various options. The contract will then be bid, perhaps this summer or even late spring, for the following 2 or 3 years, whichever seems most advantageous to the towns as a whole. And there are 16 or 17 towns in the region that are part of this aggregation effort. The first amendment of the FY 2026 school budget has been released. It shows a rise of $338,000, 3.67% for the operating and maintenance budget, and a rise of $257,000, or 19.37% for the capital budget, including the school debt. Together, this is a rise of $595,000, almost $600,000. Excuse me. Under the leadership of our building and ground superintendent and safety officer, we're taking the steps necessary to satisfy our insurers' requirements for safety awareness, which are based on our safety record over the last 3 years. With any luck, next year we will be in the clear regarding safety incidents and such action plan requirements. Regarding the dust situation with Berkshire Concrete, DEP performed some air monitoring, and I have requested the results but have not heard anything as of today. It is clear that even without active operation, open areas on the new site continue to erode from the wind, with substantial material being spread into the neighboring properties. Our employee handbook revision consultants have spoken to 11 out of 15 department heads, all those who chose to respond. They've gathered a number of suggestions as well as dived deeply into our current policies. I believe their report will be quite thorough and provide the town with excellent guidance in revising the handbook. There was a good turnout for the MMA legislative breakfast on Friday in this very room, with over 40 attendees, including Senator Paul Mark, Representative Davis, Representative Barrett, and a staff member from Representative Farley Bouvier's office. The MMA gave a budget process update and spoke on some policy achievements, including the governor's proposal for $300 million in Chapter 90 for 5 years, as opposed to $200 million for 1 year. If enacted, that would provide Dalton $348,000 in Chapter 90 funds instead of approximately $215,000, more than a 60% increase. That's all my news for now.
Excellent. Thank you. Future agenda items. It's the time to bring up any future agenda items that you'd like to see on the future agenda, or you can certainly email those agenda requests, town manager and board chair. Anything?
I think it's the composting from Tony Pagliarulo.
Yeah.
I think that was gonna come up anyways, but thank you. Yep.
That's on time.
That's gonna be, I think, on the 24th meeting for that.
We actually bumped 4 items, maybe 5 from this agenda.
Yeah.
And they were already at 9:30. So.
Okay. Items not anticipated 48 hours before the meeting.
I have nothing.
Remarks of the select board.
Tom, what's the anticipated start date for Orchard Road?
I will find that out after I give them the results of the concrete. Everybody knew we wanted for April 1st. Moray Concrete, who's doing it, actually has a job on Route 8, a little bit east of here. So they're actually going to be in the area anyway. So I'm kind of optimistic that it's going to be pretty darn close to April 1st. But I know that everybody knows that's the target.
When you get an actual date, you let me know, so I can let people know.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other members? Remarks?
The only thing I would like to point out is it seems that for this new town manager committee search, I don't know what the ramifications or technicalities are, but as a select board member, I wouldn't mind having those discussions of those people that possibly will be applying for the position at a meeting where it can be publicized so the townspeople can see openly how we're coming up with the selection of the committee. And I think that will show 100% to the town that there's nobody up here trying not to do anything non-transparent. It just, maybe that's how it used to be done, or, nobody thought anything about it, didn't think they'd find anybody and ask people. So it appears that we have people in town that would like to join that committee, and that's my 2 cents of possibly moving forward with the new town manager.
Okay. It'll definitely be on a future agenda item in the next either week or 2. Yeah, and then we can make a decision then. So yeah, stay tuned, definitely.
I don't see that this has to be rushed to make sure that we get the best we can. I know Great Barrington just went through it, talked and associated with them. Their process took, I believe, almost 3.5, 4 months before they, after their long drawn out, they did interview, I think, 6 or 7 potentials before they finally settled on their final meeting. So, look forward to that process.
Thank you. Okay. Announcements. The town is seeking volunteers, including for the Cultural Council, which is responsible for reviewing arts and culture grant proposals and approving projects. If you're interested in being on this or any other committee, authority, or board, please call the town manager's office or visit the town's website. The Dalton Police Department is reminding citizens of the winter parking ban. It's still in effect until April 15th, between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. During this time, there will be no parking allowed on the streets. The town is contracted with Colonial Power to provide an electricity plan for residents, which has resulted in prices lower than current Eversource prices. For more details or to opt in or out, visit the town's website or call the town manager's office.
I'm sorry, I have to make a correction to that. Colonial Power, Eversource's current prices are currently lower than Colonial's prices. I had meant to, there was a version of this where I crossed it out, and I did not do that here, so I have to make that correction here. Right now, the aggregation costs more than the default plan.
Okay.
Every 6 months, it changes.
I understand.
Yeah.
Can we just strike that from future announcements? Any mention of whether it's lower or higher?
Yeah, I had done that in a different version, I apologize.
I'll reread. The town is contracted with Colonial Power to provide an electricity plan for town residents. For more details for opt-in or out, please visit the town's website or call the town manager's office. Town of Dalton currently has the following employment opportunities: town manager, assessor's clerk, council on aging administrative assistant, interdepartmental assistant, seasonal laborer for the DPW. That's the list, right? More info on the town websites. Under job postings, there's a blue button on the homepage. And finally, Dalton's official meeting postings, agendas, and minutes can be viewed at mytowngovernment.org/01226. Next meeting. So there's two meetings. There's a special select board meeting on Monday, March 17th at 7 p.m. to review department budgets and capital items. And then again on Monday, March 24th at 7 p.m. Is the next select board regular meeting, both here at the senior center. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn and not go into executive session?
Make a motion to adjourn and not go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. The reason is we do not need executive session this evening. The items are not ready for conversation. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, right?
Thank you, Dalton. Good night.